Welcome to Cat the Minion YouTube channel. My name is Theresa, but you can call me Cat. I'm going to apologize ahead of time if you can hear the air conditioner running very near to me. I turned it down a little bit so the compressor won't run as much while I'm recording, but I have to do this to get it out on time, and I don't feel like boiling in this tropical heat that we have right now, so it's just gonna have to cope with the noise so I can get this done. I don't need to be, I don't want to do this at like 3 o'clock in the morning and have it be quieter and have it out later than I want it to be. So this is the weekend pick-a-pile reading, and while I'm showing the decks, you can pick which stack you want. There's this flat rock that's some kind of quartz probably that was looking at me when I went for a walk, so I took it home with me, and I have Pusheen. Just want to see if the little I want to see if this is gonna work on camera. Oh, okay. Here we go. Those whiskers are moving now. Okay. So I have Pusheen. I have an Etch-a-Sketch. There. Oh, there we go. Just a little one. You have those cheater ones now that make circular arcs. Didn't have that kind of fancy stuff when I was little, I tell you. Etch-a-Sketch. Okay. And we have Rarity over here. Rarity. Okay. So you can figure out which pile you want. I have an actual crystal this time. A lot of people at their pick-a-piles have like 4 rocks that look exactly the same, but this one very distinctive from the other pile markers. So we have some sort of flat rock, sparkly, crystally thing. A silicone chip, if you will. The Pusheen, the kitty, the Etch-a-Sketch, and Rarity. Okay. The decks that I'm using today, not all piles have the same amount of cards. Not all cards are used in all piles. So I have the Aquarian Tarot, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit cards here, this Gilded Reverie Lenormand, one of my 2 new decks for me. My other new deck for me is the Lover's Oracle. I just realized that this one is different than some of the other ones that people are using. This one has roses on it, and there's, I guess, older versions of this deck have a scroll on it. And I was like, oh my god, did I get the wrong deck? But I think they just updated it, because it still has the pictures on the back that look maybe not all that graphic, but still have the pictures on the back. So, Lover's Oracle here. Yeah, it says this printing 2020, so I guess they changed it a little bit. So that's the Lover's Oracle. I have the Morgan Greer here. Hopefully I just touched the camera. I hope I didn't mess up the focus. The Radley Valentine Angel Tarot here. I got mine on eBay. It was a little older, so it still says Doreen Virtue on the box, but she's like, I don't know what her deal is, but she doesn't want her name on these anymore, so Radley Valentine Angel deck. And Syrian Starseed Tarot. So that's what I'm using today. They may or may not be in the piles, so get into it. I'm going to start with Rarity. A pony, technically a unicorn. Back when I was little, the My Little Ponies were chunky. camera doesn't really go any lower, so I'm going to make sure, hopefully it's focused to right about here. Let me check that, because when I hold up the cards, I want it to be in focus. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. What have we got? Unity, Archangel Sandalphon. So in this deck, this is where the Hierophant would normally be. So Archangel Sandalphon. Did I put? I don't think. I didn't put my Dictionary of Angels away, but I don't feel like looking at it right now. So it says traditional viewpoints or methods, spiritual organizations seek out mentors and like-minded friends. So we'll put a pin on that for now. Also, that is Taurian energy. Which is ruled by Venus and may be associated with the Empress, so we'll see. The Page of Air coming in upside down. That's what it says. Okay, so upright it would be challenging information, delays or changes to plans, truth delivered without tact. And it says logical, honest, impulsive, and curious. Page of Air. So that's a 1 or an 11. So I see a Tower moment here perhaps, or also the Lovers, which is Gemini, which is what we are in right now. Page of Air. Winter with Earth of Air. So we do have a sense of grounding, and I see this as going underground perhaps. Like the truth is underground, but we'll see. We have Lion. So there's actually sort of like brown down here, and then it's like red and orange and yellow. And I almost feel like your root chakra is clogged because of this brown here. Like, oh, you know what I see? I see what it is. It's like dried blood. You've survived all these things that have scarred you, and you've come out stronger for it. This, like, the root of who you are is someone who's a survivor, and it gives you this platform of strength to move forward. It's very reserved power. It's this idea of like an alpha of a group, but it's not in an abusive, condescending, showy, look at me way like you might consider a Leo to be. It has to do with maturity and keeping an eye out on everybody. And it's like knowing that you're in power without having inflated ego about it. That's what I'm getting from this card. We do have fire energy, and most likely Leo energy, just because of that big old lion right on there. Air, earth, and fire. Okay. So I have a cluster of these Morgan Greer cards. So what have we got here? There's the Empress. She came out to play. So that's Venus, which is a possible Libra, possible Taurian energy. Let me just turn her upright for a second here. So there's that Empress coming in upside down here. So that's 3. Get into those energies in a minute. What else have we got here? Justice, so that's 11. So we have 11 and 11 here. So we have timing going on. So here's Justice. So she's got a sword, the Page of Air might have. And then she's got a balance here, so this is Libra. So we have a bridge here between the Empress and the Page of Air. And this other card is the Five of Cups inverted. Now the Five of Cups is usually like a woe is me kind of a card. What's that here? Mars and Scorpio. So we have the ruler of the underworld, and then we have a conflict, and perhaps I'd like to remind people that Martian energy isn't always war. It has to do with tactics, psychology, understanding the enemy, negotiations and things like that. And we have it next to justice too, so it's almost like the negotiations were a failure. So put those fives next to each other. So we have a 10 here. And then 13, that's a death cycle. And we did have Scorpio energy in here. We have an injustice. And because the truth had not been unearthed. But we have this strength coming from a prior wounding. Now, I don't think this Unity card is going to stay over here, but I'm going to leave it there because it's next to the other 5 for now. Alright. Now this could, if this is Leo and or strength, it could potentially be the Sun, which would be 19, which would be 10, which is a completion. Or it could be 8, which is strength. And I do see 8 here. But it could also be 11, because in some decks, justice and strength are switched. So I do see 8 and 11 flipping back and forth here. Something about justice and strength and timing. It's like eventually the truth will set you free. And we have these come out together. 4 of Chalices with the Ace of Flames, both inverted. This looks like kind of like a rocket ship here. Also just heard failure to launch because of that fire energy being inverted here. Summer. And then the 4 of Chalices, in this deck upright, it's like, I want to go home. I don't like this. But notice we have the 4 and the 5 next to each other, both inverted. To me, that indicates heavily that probably there's a hermit energy involved, which is essentially going within that underground sense. 4 of Chalices, Cancer, and the moon in Cancer. Now, the moon has to do with secretions. Secrets, secretions, darkness, things that aren't being said. And this is sort of like a lights out. And I do see a 5 here, right? So I do see 10 here, and then I see another 5, even though that one's upright. So I do sense this, that there could be some devil energy, and that would have to do with it would give the more of like another layer to being underground, because you think of the devil, you think somebody's in hell, you think they're chained up, they're underground, but it's also this Saturnian pressure for something to happen. And I think a lot of these cards are upside down because a lot of these planets are in retrograde right now. If I'm going to say this is an 8, and I put these together because they're like the only upright cards in here, it's like to have faith in your own strength is giving you this 13 that's a death cycle. It's going into the darkness and releasing everything in your life that hasn't worked. You know, like, I am going to dwell on all these injustices that were put before me every time I wanted to just leave, because, you know, my heart always came up empty. Every time I wanted to go forward with who I was blocked in some way. Now this is also, can be 16 if this is switched to an 11. as it is actually in this deck. And there is that Tower moment of everything that you thought was, you know, your whole life of, you know, your whole life you've been cock-blocked. Every time you had something, someone took it away from you. People were always lying and backstabbing you and cutting you off in some way. Seek out mentors and like-minded friends. So all these people can go F themselves because you have the strength to walk away from this dumpster fire and be true to who you are in the base of your soul, of your what's I gonna say, in your core being, like the base of who you are as a person. Now, unity also has to do with your energies coming into greater balance. So it's not just in terms of gaining strength, it's also, you know, the darkness and the light and the masculine and the feminine energies. Because it's not just the Empress. You know, even though this is really the most masculine energy here. But I almost feel like because of what's going on here, it's like the feminine energy is the one that has been causing the issues more than anything else. Like a distorted feminine energy for this pile. So getting through that transformation of realizing that you don't have to stay in a world where everything is wrong. It's 11. It's time to be who you really are and have faith in yourself and unify yourself as you're a person of your own creation and be able to move forward. Because if this is 11 and this is 5, that's 16. That's a Tower moment, and then it's moving forward. And if it's 13, then it's 4, and then it's the Emperor, which is also gaining control over your dominion. It's not to say that, for the Emperor, well, that's so much better than this distorted Empress over here. That's not to say. It's to say that you're not putting yourself in a damsel in distress energy. Alright, so I think I'm going to leave that there. And we'll move on to the next one. I'm feeling the Etch-a-Sketch. I'm going to pause for a second, though. Alright, so we have the Etch-a-Sketch. Let's see what's happening in these cards. The Elk upside down. So this is kind of like the King of Pentacles. We have perhaps something that's not well grounded. There's an eclipse portal here. We have heart energy, and we have, I think that's supposed to be red. It's kind of like watermelony. It's like the heart and the root and a little bit of sacral energy. But the important thing with the Elk here is that his crown is wide open. This is like a neural network that's expanding because of some kind of like a transition. But it's also, an eclipse can be feminine and masculine energy, so it's almost like the heart is the feminine and then the root is like, you know, the masculine energy, because, you know, roots are more or less phallic shaped, so we can just say that just as a shorthand, even though that's not like critically exactly detailed the case. The Elk is a guy who's, you know, like watching out for others and sort of gentle and strong. He's somewhat grounded. I mean, he's got 4 legs to stand on, and he's keeping an eye out for his people. But upside down, he's just kind of like, okay, man, you want to fight? And he's gonna lock horns. You know, kind of, it's like dripping blood off of his antlers. And he's stabbed a hole in his adversary there. So we'll get back to that. We have the Seven of Orbs inverted. Now this Seven of Orbs is the Seven of Swords in this deck. It's that, is it the Moon in Aquarius, if I remember correctly? I get it right. Okay. So it's like communication that is like of the dark side. Secrets, sneaking around, kind of, you know, and ideas that you're not telling anyone. Like, in my own head, people would be shocked if they knew what I was thinking. And then this guy is so focused on this stuff over here, he doesn't even realize that he's dropping half the stuff he's trying to hoard. And these people are like, wow, look at this guy, he's dropping shit all over the place. Right, so this is inverted, which might be a good thing, because it means that this energy is starting to be exposed to the light. Now we had a moon energy here, and then we have an eclipse here. So it's like if you obscure the obscurity in some way. Alright, so what do we have here? The moon inverted, which is also like this. Now, if this were actually the King of Pentacles, it would be a 1 or a 14. Then a 14 breaks down to a 5, which is a pivot of some sort. And then if it was 15, if it was 14, it'd be 5, and 7, that's 12, that's the Hangman, and then we have 9, which is the moon. 9 and 7 is 16, which is an inverted tower, which is some kind of change to the foundation. It's kind of like those places that will like jack up an entire building and change the foundation. They don't knock down the whole thing. It's like tower light. But look how bright and huge this moon is. And then it's like blocking it out like the sun. I do want to get back to that, but the moon is ruled by Pisces, even though the moon itself rules Cancer. So we'll get back to that. It's 18. We have 2 more animal cards here that came out together. So I have the Cobra and the Elephant. Now these, I actually feel, are doing the same thing. The Cobra is like rising up out of this, why can't I talk? The Cobra is rising up out of the root chakra. It's very discerning. It's the Kundalini energy. Now the Cobra, if it's out of balance, is like danger noodle and will probably chomp on you. But this card is upright, and we have this pyramidal strength of these energy lines coming up. You know, like that foundation that was repaired, and this Kundalini energy is streaking up out of the, god damn it, if I could talk. It's streaking up out of the root. Like a very phallic thing, as I was pointing out over here. Now, even though this is also somewhat phallic here, this elephant, notice the broken tusk. He's been through some stuff, or she. So we have a fire elemental. We have this, here it's the third eye, but notice how similar that is. Like up there, high on the head of the animal, we have a third eye activation. And this fire down here is very much like the base of the spine where that root chakra is. It's almost like these are the same pictures. Now here, it's, this energy is rising. It's like flowing, it's serpentine. And here we have what is the whole brain stem and the lobes of the brain. This is where Lord Ganesh comes from. Okay. Right, we've had a lot of it's like we've had a lot of sorrow to think about, but I almost feel like the broken tusk is like when you're in the Seven of Orbs energy, your thinking is not of the highest vibration. And when you let go of that, you have to let go of some of the things you used to think were important, and that's where that tusk goes away. So a lot of fire energy here coming in. Okay, so I've got a pair of Lenormand cards. What have I got? These are both inverted too. So this is, what is that? The Park, I think. Let me check. I haven't gotten that card yet. This card deck is new to me. I have not had Lenormand before, so I'm still on my checking the booklet training wheels for a little bit here until I'm more familiar with the cards. It's easier to do the other stuff because I've been reading the other tarot for a year, but this is... What the hell number is that? 43. Oh, it's Labyrinth. Okay. Alright, so Labyrinth inverted. And, oh, okay, this is an extra card that's not part of the original 36, so it has all of the suits on it. So I see masculine and feminine energy. I see possible chariot energy, which is also Cancer. So let me see what the Labyrinth says here. When you think you've done everything you can, you hit a wall and have to start again. I am the labyrinth that keeps you going through trial and error to the end. There are no shortcuts to success, my friend. So that's responding to this Seven of Orbs. Which, oh, Seven of Orbs. Okay. This card is about making your way through a confusing stream of events, often by trial and error. Okay. Just give me a second, I'm skimming. Oh, see, a narrow viewpoint will keep you from seeing the larger picture. That's exactly this. He's only focusing on this and is missing this stuff over here. These are extremely related to each other. Okay. Okay. So this card is about like discernment and figuring out how to do stuff, and sometimes you make mistakes and you have to go back and do it again. And it also has to do with relating to other people, you know, whether you think you can do it alone or perhaps working with other people, seeking out advice and things like that. But the person in the Seven of Orbs energy is not trusting of other people, and that may be or may not because they are trustworthy in themselves. But I see this and this coming around together as hitting that 14, which is Temperance. And the reason that this elk is upside down is because he's the one who is in this energy of not trusting other people, of putting up a barrier. This is very much like a labyrinth. And in that way, his crown is shut down and he's unable to perceive the bigger picture. This here is the man with the Ace of Cups attached to it. Fall and water energy. Now, this, I remember because I've read this a couple times now. It's 2 and 8, that's 10. We also have Strength and the High Priestess, maybe. Or the Wheel. Or if it's Cups, then we have 2 of Cups, that's Venus and Cancer, 8 of Cups, Capricorn and Pisces. I mean, not Capricorn, Saturn and Pisces. Pisces is ruling the moon. And there's this call for grounding in relation to how you're interacting. And here, I think especially with this rose here, with other people. It doesn't have to be a romantic interest, although this card somewhat suggests it. the moon being very watery has to do with emotional content. I also see this relation, oh, my battery's gonna die soon, relation to the High Priestess, because the moon rules the High Priestess. So now, even if you're not a man, what I see here is that whoever is having this Etch-a-Sketch pile, notice that there's two knobs. One is masculine, one is feminine. One goes up and down, the other one goes left and right. It's only when they're moving together that you can... If I can do this. I haven't used this in forever. Just pretend that this is actually a circle. There. It's only when the masculine and the feminine are working together that you can get... Oh, there we go. That's a curve. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So it's only when the masculine and the feminine are working together that you can have curvature, because one goes one way and the other one goes the other way. And then 8 would be strength or justice, depending on the deck. So there is an idea of having enough faith in yourself and confidence in yourself to trust both sides of yourself, and in that way you be able to begin to interact with other people in a more balanced way. You won't distrust somebody just because they're male, or you won't distrust somebody just because they're female. You'll understand that everybody has dark sides, light sides, masculine and feminine energy, and you won't be like waiting around for someone who you can, you know, to sort of like, oh, you have to love me how I am. It's like, you don't have to be here in the dark wondering if somebody's ever going to relate to you. Once you have confidence in yourself and you go out in the world and you realize, like, oh, interacting with people isn't as bad as I thought it was. And that's where this comes in with this fire energy, which perhaps the strength card with Leo energy could bring fire, but it's also this root internal fire of like knowing who you are at the very base of your identity and opening yourself up to this balanced energy where you have the masculine side of the brain, the feminine side of the brain, and the kundalini being both of them, opening up this channel of energy throughout your entire body. All right, we also have the Knight of Swords inverted. So that's the Hanged Man in relation to communication and thoughts. Knight of Swords. So we have Taurus and Gemini with fire of air. Okay, so we're trying to ground our energy. We have that duality, that Gemini, the twins. They're originally male and female. I'm not quite sure what to do yet. This is new to me. I don't know where to go. He's just kind of sitting there. I mean, in this case, this hangman is just kind of in timeout. So the battery did die. So as I was saying, this is the Hanged Man. He's still kind of unsure of where to go with the thoughts. And this guy, being the Hanged Man, he's just kind of in timeout. He's not actually swinging from a tree, but he may as well be. Let's see what this other card is. Higher Self, too. So that is the High Priestess. Called her out of there like that hoe that she is. Just kidding. Okay. So in this Syrian Starseed deck, the High Priestess is called Higher Self. So we're going to take it at that. Your higher self is opening your masculine side up to this growth, both in terms of who they are at their core and their ability to think and perceive. Now this can be a 1 or a 14. So if it's a 1, we have the Magician, right? I am the Lord of the land. I know all of the elements. You know, like, there can be only one. But also one is the loneliest number. So in order for the masculine energy to gain more like spiritual integrity and open up to interacting with others, we have to have an eclipse. The feminine and the masculine have to come together, the energies, in order to create this I don't want to say binding, but to turn on the power station of the corpus callosum in the center of the brain so the two halves can talk to each other. And that's when you are able to open up the crown energy and have that third eye fire up so that those two highest chakras bring in this information, and that's where you can talk to your higher self. Right? It's only when you open up all the way to the top of the Kundalini snake and hit that roof where the highest part of who you are as a person exists. And that's when this man gets his completion, because he'll have the higher self 2 and then strength 8. So he'll have the sun Leo and the moon the higher self, and he will be balanced and able to forge ahead in a way that's not just one or the other, good or bad, mine or yours. All right. Oh man, I'm getting hot in here. I'm trying to figure out who I'm doing next. I really feel like it's the stone. Pusheen's gotta wait. All right, so I have this little rock here. It's so shiny. It's got this one chunky dark spot here. Almost looks like it broke off the inside of a geode, but I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. It's found in the wild. Alright, so I have a whole... This pile... I don't know why there's so many cards. Whoever has this rock has a lot to say. We have the Lovers, Archangel Raphael. Intimate relationships, carefully weigh your decisions, good health. The Hermit, 9, look at that. Archangel Ratziel. Spend time in quiet meditation, spiritual teaching, self-discovery, but we're inverted here. Page of Fire inverted, so normally we would have outgoing, creative, confident, mischievous. News of an exciting new endeavor, use your originality and ingenuity. Okay. So this is 11 and it's inverted, so I do see the Hermit and this 11 here as 20, Judgment. But I also see this could be a 1 as well, so I have 10 and 6, 16, that's a Tower, that's a shift, but then also it would be a Chariot moving forward. But we're not all the way there yet because there's a whole crap ton more cards here. 2 of Water, so that is like a low vibe of the Lovers, so we have like a double down here. A relationship that continues to grow closer, forgiveness, the positive resolution of a conflict. So if this all was the Tower, this would be the Moon. 18. Sort of delving into the darkness. 13, transition. 11. That would be the twin flame number or timing. 8, strength. 9, yep, 9. 9, okay. Anything else here? The numbers 15. 7, that's the Chariot. 3, that would be Empress. 12. The Hangman would be 3, okay. Am I done yet? Let me see where I'm at with energies so far. The Hermit, Virgo. Might be ungrounded, but we'll see. Page of Fire, Summer with Earth of Fire. So we do have this idea of grounding and summer energy because Virgo is the end of the summer there. And Two of Water, Venus in Cancer, and the Lovers is Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. Okay. Virgo. Oh, okay, there we go. Also ruled by Mercury. Alright, there we go. Some kind of communication, probably between the lovers, but we'll see. Got a pair of Lenormand here. This is an additional card that's specific to this deck, so that I believe it's time because it reminds me of that Pink Floyd song with all the clocks. Clock Destroyer. Okay. Hold on, let me put this down for a second. This is the book, so that's learning. Now, I did say 11, which could be timing. 3 and 7, that's 10. 2 and 6, that's 8. 6 and 7, that's 13 and 5. Oh, okay. 11 and 7, that's 18, that's a moon. Okay. I see 10 of Pentacles energy on the book there. Mercury in Virgo. How do you like that? 37. Okay, so this is any old suit here, so I would say that that would be the wheel. Because if I see 4 suits together, that gives me major arcana. So let me look at 37 to make sure I know what the hell I'm talking about here. 37. 37 time. Metering out of time. Clock is ticking and life is transitory in nature, so we should savor each moment and live life to the fullest. Reminder of immortality. The hands of the clock will only go forward into time. We must go on regardless. Just skimming this. Okay. So there's just a lot of stuff in here about time. Now this book has to do with knowledge, and it has a lock on it because sometimes you have to go and seek it. I did say the moon, so it might be hidden knowledge about about time itself. Like learning about astrology. Learning about... Yeah, basically learning about astrology. And then also with the 10 of Pentacles here, it's almost like consulting an almanac. What else am I getting? It's like you're learning that the universe has a certain time schedule, which would be that sort of processional cycle. That time, the way that the universe sees time is different than the way that you see time in terms of, like, I want it now. This idea of having to go inside yourself and think about, like, wanting to start something, you know, like MJ, like, want to be starting something, which is like the opening of the Thriller album, which goes into this almost like nightmarish thing before coming out with this. I think the last song on it is that love song, but maybe. So the idea is like learning how to put what you want to do and let the universe flow you into the time in that way. So that's what that is, and that's why it's secret knowledge, because it's not so readily apparent. 15 is 2 is 20. Okay. So it is going to have to do with, like, in relation to judgment as, like, learning how to fulfill your life's purpose. Because that's one of the aspects of judgment. I've got a pair of Morgan Greer cards here. How did I pick these up? I turn them around by accident. Alright, so we have a 9 here again. That's 9 of Pentacles. So I have the 10 and the 9 here together. But then I also have the Emperor inverted. And I think that has to do with that impatience. The impatience of time. Because we have Aries energy here. Mars energy. I don't want to negotiate with the universe. I want it now. 5 here, all inverted. 5 of Wands inverted is again having to do with trying to gain maturity. Page. The Emperor. I feel like it's relevant that the Page and the Emperor are coming out in this similar energy, because it's like it's like your insistence on having it your way is getting weaker, right? It's like a descent into allowing the universe to take over, right? When you learn how to accept what's going on with time, right? So I have the Emperor, which goes to from a 4 to the even well. Let's just say that the Emperor is in place of a king right now, right? And like a jacked up king, like high on cocaine or something. So we go essentially, let's just pretend it's 14. So we're going from 14 to 11 to 9, right? Our resolve to fight for what we want is weakening as we have gone into this. It's not really self-reflection. It's like learning about the world outside. So it's like external reflection, not like, what do I want? Me, me, me. It's like, oh, let me think about what's going on here. So notice that we have half of the moon here. So we're learning, we've cracked open the nut. We've broken open the fortune cookie that tells us what time it is, like figuratively and literally. And then what happens after that is this 9 of Pentacles, which is the other half of that moon energy, which is this more grounded feminine energy that's learned how to move in rhythm with nature. And then after that summer, because we had all that Virgo energy, we have this harvest. And if you're doing planting, you want to look at an almanac, which was one of those energies coming out of these Lenormand cards. Now, let me see what the energy on this is. Yeah, this is Venus in Virgo. So instead of forcing, it's like you're using your creative energies, and you've hit on this Empress, this leading up to the Empress. Because if a Page is like a very low vibration Emperor, then the 9 of Pentacles is a lower vibrational Empress, especially with that Venus energy driving her. And Virgo is that summer fruits of the labor, you know, don't spill the wine kind of energy. What else was I gonna say? Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Mercury energy. Mercury rules Virgo. So it's like being able to like understand and communicate to others. But here it might be visual communication, like, oh, I've learned how to do something important. Look at all this, like, see, like, this is like, I've done it, you can do it too kind of energy. Okay, so we also, there's 5 more cards in this pile. Aquarian Tarot. So we have the Four of Rods. This is actually 1111. This is a twin flame card, which we might have going on here because we have the Two of Water and the Lovers, and we have this Emperor Empress energy here and this idea of universal timing. But we do have this foundational number here, Four of Wands. See, now Venus is in Aries. And what is Aries but the Emperor? Venus, the Empress, and the Emperor are in the same house, essentially. They're in the same, they're within the confines of the same foundation. They're standing in the same building. Put this over here. So we have a Page of Swords inverted now. What's this sword? Page of Swords. Winter and Earth of Air. Okay. And then the Ace of Cups inverted. So that's interesting. Fall and Water, Winter and Air. Okay. I think this has to do with seasons. Right? Because this is all summer over here. And then we have summer and then we have winter and fall. I'm not quite sure what to make of that just yet. Because this, I mean, this should indicate that this is, like, it's on now. But if these three cards are coming out together, what is that again? 4? That's, Aries is spring. Fall, winter, spring, and this is summer. Alright, let me put these down for a second. Let's see. What do we got over here? The Chariot inverted and the Ten of Flames inverted. Okay. So this is Cancer. And the Ten of Flames, Saturn in Sagittarius. So this, since Saturn rules Capricorn, I'm getting, again, this idea of fall and winter, but it's inverted. And then the Chariot comes back into summer because that's, Cancer is like spring and summer. And the only reason that these seasons seem to stand out so much is because there was this idea of timing. And I keep thinking, well, I don't keep, but twice now I'm getting, I think it's Bob Dylan wrote it, maybe. Did he? Maybe he wrote it. But it's based on the Bible, but it's the, oh, it's the birds. Okay. The birds. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. I'm thinking of the lyrics. I don't want to recite them right now, but it's a really good song. So the birds, turn, turn, turn. And it's, I mean, the concept is there's a season for everything, for planting, for sowing, for reaping, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. So almost feel like, put this here. Okay, so I have 10 and 2, that's 12, that's a Hanged Man energy. So it's like everything is going to come in this love relationship, even though everything seems stalled out, because the time has to play out in a certain way. This Chariot's not moving, but what's happening is that if the moon is inverted, there's something that's coming to light. But why is the Ace of Cups? Okay, because this has to be a Hanged Man too. 11 and 1, that's 12. But it's also a duality. The feminine and the masculine both need to learn about timing. She needs to learn to, meaning the feminine energy, that Empress, needs to learn to keep the heart chakra open, and the masculine needs to learn to communicate in an effective way instead of just like making demands or being sort of petulant. He needs to learn to initiate conversation. That's why these are upside down. She needs to keep her heart open. He needs to communicate. And the reason that the Chariot is inverted is because the time hasn't shifted them into the energies yet, right? It's like the astrological signs that mark the time and the stars within them haven't clicked into place yet. The planets aren't aligned as of yet. But this Ten of Flames being inverted, it's like Saturn in Sagittarius. We have this energy of the planet of like, do it now, get it, like do it, get it, put your nose to the grindstone. Match with the archer who shoots these arrows of inspiration into people. Now, Saturn is also Kronos, the ruler of time, right? And this is like, this here with these flames there's 10 torches in the bucket, and this guy is trying to come up out of here, which is like, this being inverted is like the Hermit in reverse, right? I'm trying to find something outside of me that helps me understand what I'm missing about patience and what's going on in the world, how to co-create with the universe. Here it's like you've been hit 9 times already. This 10th time is finally illumination in the darkness, because when this card is inverted, it means that some kind of burden is being released. This constantly smacking against this wall of like 9 times you said you wanted it now. Now this 10th time, you're finally getting the picture, and you're going to take the time to carefully walk up each of these steps so you don't drop all this crap and have to pick it up again, right? It's taking the time to learn what you need to learn, which is open communication without suspicion, after having learned how to maturity in dealing creatively with time and working with the universe. That's when the Chariot will start to move, when those energies are combined. Now, usually it's just one horse for the masculine and feminine, but here it's like the masculine and the feminine each have their own horse, and then there's another horse in the middle, which is the universe, that co-creation, that timing. This guy up here is like, oh my god, like yes. I almost feel like this higher self up here in the Chariot is like, this is the top of the Chariot. It's just like cut off on the bottom. So what's eventually going to happen here, this is like a stability, ultimate timing, locking into place, 11-11. And then essentially this is a love reading, most likely for twin flames, because we have the Two of Water, we have this emotional thing, right? Forgiveness, positive resolution of the conflict, whatever it might have been, and then it rapidly cycles up. It goes 2 and then poof, and now it's 6, and we have healing and the relationship. Okay, so that was a huge stack. It's almost like this came out of the ground, like the hermit had to, like the guy with the 10 torches. And it's like all this stuff deep under the surface that's has to be understood. It's sedimentary, my dear Watson. Alright, let's see what Pusheen's going on here. I'm gonna get a drink of water though. Pusheen. This kind of seems like a lot of cards here, but not as many as the other pile. Put this back here, crowding me a little bit. Okay. A pair of these. 8 of Fire. Events moving at a fast pace. Delays are over. Many things happening at once. And the Queen of Water. Tender-hearted, empathetic, patient, and loving. Relationships develop to a new level. Trust your intuition. Care for yourself and others. Okay. This can be a 1 or a 13. Nine Cups, Contentment, 9 Wands. Had been waiting around for a long time, which might be why things are finally taking off. Queen of Water. Gemini and Cancer with water and water. Okay, so there's already a duality there. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which has to do with communication. 8 of Fire, also Mercury with Sagittarius, which is that inspiration arrow shooting, but could also be love. This is content in your own emotions with feminine energy. Wands is inherently masculine energy, especially with Mercury and Sagittarius there. Okay. A pair of animals here, Stingray and the Owl. Okay, now the Stingray here, notice how we have the chakras lining up here. If the Stingray is unhappy, it can be sort of like a danger pancake. You know, if it's disturbed, it can strike out at you. But this here, and also consider a manta as not just, you know, a little demon ravioli, but it's also, it flies through the water, right? There's a current going here. Now, I don't know if a stingray stings like with electricity or if it's like a venom. But an electric shock and a sting can be very similar. And I also see like current and water as having to do with communication, but also electricity. And I think this card and this card are looking very similar right now. We have the Owl here. So we have messages coming in. We have wisdom. Anything else? Air. The matching tarot deck for this Wild Unknown Animal Spirits here, the Swords suit has owls as the court cards. So this could very well be the Queen of Air as well, just because we have a queen here to start with. And this is water here as well. Let me put this over here. Okay, so the Queen of Water, right? She's balanced in her emotions. She knows how to handle them. But the way that she balances her emotions is not the same way as the King of Water does. Okay, she is... she's more, I mean, there's more of a flow, really. And it's not really like King of Cups is black and white either, but he's like, okay, I'm balanced on the left, I'm balanced on the right. Now I have this, what's it called, the way that we see? We have the two eyes, and because we're seeing from two different points, we can see in 3D. That's what it's like for the king. He's, I don't know how to describe it. I can't remember what it's called. They use it to look at stars. They use like the lumens, and then they triangulate and all that shit. It's been a hot minute since I had physics in high school, so I don't remember. But anyway, we have the bi something vision, and so the king is balanced on the left, he's balanced on the right in his emotional body, and that enables him to see things more clearly because he's not clouded by reactivity. The way that the queen balances her emotions is this sort of flow back and forth. It's like sifting through beans and just getting a texture in that way to feel it. She like feels it out, and he's just kind of like, this way, let's make an image, and she's just like, I don't know. So that's how the queen and the king differ in a way that I can explain it that makes any sense at all. I'm checking my focus. So here I see this owl, I see this sort of clear perception, messages coming in. And then the stingray, it's like this idea of overcoming reactivity, and I see that as just sort of doubling down on what the queen is saying. I also have this idea of communication, and it's looking towards this 8 of fire, so it's like she's either expecting or she knows that this is going to happen. You know, like she's like waiting to hear back from somebody, maybe, but it's also just like she's psychic enough to know that something's going to happen, and is able to sort of look towards the horizon with this vision and perhaps be receptive to this incoming like an arrow from the Sagittarius guy there. So we have a single Morgan Greer here. We have the 10 of Cups inverted, so that's interesting. Not sure why we'd be unhappy, but let's see what this energy is. 10 of Cups. Mars in Pisces. So now Mars doesn't always have to be a conflict, but maybe we're unhappy because maybe she has been waiting for this communication for a long time, and she's like, how frickin' long is this gonna take here? You know, she's starting to get a little antsy. In this way, I almost see this 10 as like fighting over whose emotions are going to be satisfied here, perhaps. Inverted 10. It's like something that hasn't been dealt with. It's like something in the past where people's feelings were hurt, and it's incomplete because it hasn't been talked about yet. And she's been waiting for closure. I also see the moon here, so it's something that hasn't been opened up about yet. We got these two cards here. So we have 3 of Pentacles and the 3 of Rods. Okay, so this is exactly what you'd want to see right now. So now we have Mars in Capricorn. I'm gonna have Mars energy somewhere else. Am I thinking of the other reading? What the hell am I doing? 8 of Wands. Sagittarius. 10 of Cups. Oh, okay, Mars in Pisces. Okay. So instead of being in Pisces, Mars is now in Capricorn. But here, it's not conflict, it's the negotiations part of Martian energy, right? So it's all of the art of war. It's psychology, understanding the other person, negotiating, considering, writing down, strategy, planning, and The Three of Wands here is the Sun in Aries. Now, Aries is ruled by Mars. So we have this being resolved by this communication coming in, whoever the Queen is dealing with. Now, it could be a love relationship, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Although there's a lot of emotion involved in this. A lot of hurt feelings. Like, this is essentially the Ten of Wands right now. But it's coming in as the Ten of Cups inverted because we're saying it has to do specifically with feelings. With a wounded heart. Because that Ten of Wands is that burden. Or it could be the Ten of Swords, also like knife in the back kind of energy. But what's happening here, 8 and 3, that's 11 rods, right? 10 and 3, that's 13. That is moving, transitioning into a new phase and letting what happened before fall away and crumble into the earth. Okay, so the Three of Rods here, that's like this, literally the bright side of Martian energy. And we have, it's this well-grounded, because we have Capricorn, right? We have like the oldest earth sign. And it's ruled by Saturn, which is Chronos, which has to do with timing, which is also 11. This can be a 1 or a 13, so we have 10 and 1, that's 11 again. So we have 11, 11, so it could be relationship, it could be twin flame, but it's very low key in its presentation. So whoever this Queen of Wands is, who's ever been in your emotions in a feeling it out kind of a way, trying not to be reactive, waiting for closure on a situation that really hurt you emotionally. Things are changing fast. You'll be able to create a new like a new interaction. It's essentially building a new cathedral, changing the, so we have a new floor plan. We have new blueprints for whatever's going on in this relationship. And speaking of ships, this is usually the ships coming in card. There's good portents for the future related directly to looking towards this communication. Delays are over. That's that timing. Many things happening at once. So there's a rapid shift to this relationship that has to do with getting over whatever needed to be resolved from before. Alright, so let's see what this card is. Okay, so this is, to me, looks like nurturing. It looks to me like the Queen of Water, taking time and working through her own stuff. Like, oh, this really hurt me. I don't want to be in a place where I'm so snappy and reactive. I'm going to get myself lined up and really be in my heart center and work on this so that I can be this queen. And I feel like this is similar, right? Here she is taking a nap, sleeping it off, and now she's still in the water, but she's got her wings spread out, and she's like, someone's coming. I can feel it. And now she's looking. Okay, so let's see what it says. It's important right now to take a step back and spend some time alone instead of placing your focus on another. Now is the time to give to yourself. Okay, so again, this is this idea that she's been in a place where she was really working on herself so that she'd be good to go. But I feel like this is like historical in the way that this is historical. And that this is what's happening now, or very shortly in the future, because this is all could be future as well. But look at this, it's like 3 and 3. Now if we have 3, if we had 6 wands, that'd be that victory card, right? The Sun in Leo, no, Sun in Jupiter. What am I doing? Jupiter and Leo, okay. I was almost there. So we had it's like brightening the day. And this also has to do with public recognition. So it's like you're building something that's so big and honking that it can't be ignored. And also Six of Pentacles would be a masculine energy with their heart chakra getting opened. But it could also, in my music deck, it's my Six of Pentacles is The Right Garden by Jane Oliver. So it's like you're finally in an energy where things are set to grow in a healthy way where the energy is right. 6 and 8, 14, that's a balance. That's resolving past conflict as well. Is that it? And then if this was 7, the 6 would be the Chariot, which would be forward movement. And 3 is 11, and 1 is 12. I'm just trying to see something else. Now, if this was... what am I doing? 6 and 8, 14, and 1, that's 15. That would be devil energy, but I think that's just because of that, whatever was doing Capricorn, Saturn energy there. More to, like, really getting the work to put that fire under your ass to come in and move, and, it's like, people who are like angry standing back to back with each other. It's like you go stand in the corner until you learn to talk with each other. I feel like any potential devil energy in this pile is like The Parent Trap. I don't mean that like stupid remake either that I didn't see. I'm talking about the 1961 Parent Trap, where Susan and Sharon are like tearing each other apart, and the camp counselor forces them into solitude in a little cabin together until they learn to get along. They start communicating and resolving their past. So that's what this pile is about here with Pusheen. Alright, so that's it for the Pick a Pile weekend. Paper stuck to my foot. At least it's not toilet paper. Okay. So that's it for the Pick a Pile weekend. And my camera's overheating, so I gotta shut it off. But go ahead and hit me up. Donate, like, share, subscribe. Gotta go. Bye.